Today I'm going to show you how to decoupage candles with a hair straightener and a sandwich press. Welcome to my crafting channel. I'm Alana from Upcycling NZ. I'm doing a bit of a practice run with this old candle. I've had it for a while and it's damaged because I dropped it and these parts broke off. I light this little tea light candle and let some wax build up inside it. Then I'll take each piece and just soften the broken part. And I'll add a little bit of the wax from the tea candle and basically stick it back together. So I'm just using the lighter to soften the wax. I'm not melting any of it or it might put the candle out of shape. And that extra wax that I'm pouring on is just going to spread out nicely beneath it. Now I'm just going to pour a little wax around the cracks along the outside and just smooth it over. That'll be enough to hold it just for now. Now that my candle's back in shape, I'll take a napkin, and I'm using a nice black and white one. When I open it up, I'm taking off the extra ply on the back. If you've got two plies, you'll have to remove both of those plies. Now I'm just lining it up in a place where I like the pattern the most, and I'll use a ruler to mark a line so that my edges are nice and straight, and I'm just cutting those. Sorry about the small scissors, but I have misplaced my sharp large scissors. Alright, next I'll just wrap it around the candle and figure out how much I have to cut off just to allow a little bit of a overlap down the seam that will be at the back. The next thing I'm going to do is take a little bit of baking paper or parchment paper, enough to go around the circumference of that candle, and I'll just cut it off, and I'll be reusing the same piece for all of my candles today. So I've never tried this decoupaging a candle before, but it looks pretty simple, so I thought I'd give it a crack. And for this project I'll be using a hair straightener. I've seen it done with a heat gun, with an iron, and with a hairdryer, but let's try this method out. I'll use a little bit of masking tape to hold everything together and just start to heat up one half of my candle, and it's heating from both sides. So I'm going to work my way halfway around the candle, and I can see that that's working already. See how it's gotten darker underneath? Then I'm going to flip it over and get the other half. I can kind of see the areas where the wax hasn't melted yet, so I'll just work my way through those. Then I'll open it up and do a check. If you find an area that's still dry and not waxed, just wrap it up again and add some more heat. So now my broken candle's holding together really well, and I'll use this one at home, but it looks good as new. This next candle that I thrifted for $1 is a unique shape, and it's got a designer tag on it. I'm going to remove any stickers and give the candle in general a good clean. I'll be a bit more choosy about which napkin I'm going to put on this one because it's a very creamy coloured candle. Cream and white are the best ones to decoupage. This candle is a little bit worse for wear, so we need to tidy it up if I want to put it in my retail space or give it as a gift. It's got a bit of a crack down the side of it, but that'll be disguised once we put a napkin on it. So I have this beautiful Paris themed napkin, and it's got some nice florals on it. I'll just pick the most interesting part of the napkin, I think, for this one. Again, I have to take the back of the ply off it, and I'm going to measure that to size. This time I'm going to try a more natural and undefined edge. So I'm taking a wet paintbrush, and I'll mark the line and where I want to rip the napkin all the way along. See how easily that tears away? I'll also take away that sharp straight edge from the other end. Alright, I'll roll my paper around my candle and get the pattern into position where I want it the most and cut off any excess. Actually, I just tore it, and that will overlap nicely again. So I'll use that same piece of baking paper and make sure I've got the right end overlapping on my napkin, and I've gone for the raw edge to be on the seam. And again, I'll use those straighteners and work my way around the candle. I did notice it was a bit harder because this candle wasn't round, so it took a bit more work to ensure that I had all of that wax melted. Now, I'm not getting any wax on my hair straighteners, so as long as your baking paper is overlapping the end of the candle, that shouldn't be a problem. So isn't that process simple? You can always work on it a bit longer. I can see a couple of areas where I needed to melt more wax, but such an easy thing to do, and what a difference it makes to the candle. I'm ensuring that I'm not leaving the heat on the wax for too long in any one place. That way I have not ended up with a lumpy candle, which can happen, I understand. So what I should be left with is a very unique looking candle, and it's going to look quite high end, I think. Look at that, isn't that beautiful? So this is a really fast and easy method to create bespoke candles that you can sell in your retail space or give as gifts, and a great way to use thrifted candles. The next candles I'm using are a set that I got on special from a department store. I think they were $4. And I'm going to use a gold coloured serviette for these ones. I might want to use them for Christmas displays in my retail space. So I'll mark those to size and cut them as well. So while I was finding the hair straighteners to be a little bit tricky, I figured out that I had a toasted sandwich press, and I thought that has a nice flat hot surface, so that's what we're going to use for these ones. Time for some new scissors, I'm thinking. So again, I'm going to remove any excess. And I'm thinking that with this pattern, I might stagger the pattern so that each candle looks a little bit different. This is a really relaxing and easy process, and had I tried this earlier, I probably would have made a lot more of these. Okay, now that I've covered all three of those and I'm happy with the way the designs are laying, I'm going to get out my hot sandwich press. And this is the fun part. Turn that on, heat that up, and I'll use that same piece of baking paper for each of these. I found this a lot easier, and I got a lot more even spread of heat across my candle using the sandwich press. So this will be my go-to process when I do these in the future. I'm just going fairly slowly so that hopefully I only have to go around once or twice to get the whole candle done. Because the sandwich press is so flat, I'm just going to ensure that the edges of my napkin has adhered to the rim of my candle and the base of it. And that worked perfectly. The rim's lovely and smooth, and so is the base, and I can't feel any dry napkin. Now I'll carry on and get the other two done, and while I'm doing that, I'd just like to take a minute to say thank you very much for joining me. I post videos once a week and I do shorts in between, so press that subscribe button or the notification bell if you'd like to see some more of my content. And if you're not into the long version of the video, just hang out a little bit longer for the shorts, which come 1 or 2 days afterwards. Now I'm just going to melt the bottom of my candles if they're a bit lumpy, and all I'm doing is taking a paper towel and cleaning off the surface of my sandwich press. I think this sandwich press might come in handy for some other crafts in the future, so watch out for that. I'd love to know what you think of today's project, so please let me know in the comments. Haere rā, from beautiful Aotearoa.